That's better. Well, what's... Give me a moment. You know what? I can actually keep going here. I was supposed to stream last week. I had plans to stream last week. I didn't stream last week, as you can tell. One of the reasons for not streaming last week is because I didn't care for it. What more do I need to say? I didn't care for it. Okay, fuck you. No, it's personal matters again. But I had the worst experience. Yeah, the worst human interaction that I've had in a long time. I was traveling by train the entire day. I took a train in the morning at 6 something in the morning. Went down to Gothenburg, way few hours down where I live, for a job. And then I had to take the same amount of hours, like 6-7 hours back. And we're late. But the issue is we're late one station away from my station. We're one station away. We can take a bus, okay? But no. We have to stay there. So a few hours go by, and I mean like 1.5 to 2 hours, and we get taxis because they couldn't find a bus big enough to fit us all. So they got us a taxi. Now, that's usually good enough. Or sorry, that's not actually. That's good enough. That's great even actually, because I live on the same side of town that we are coming from. So as a taxi driver, can we take like a scenic route rather than the straight way? He's like, fine, that's fine. And you can just drop me off by the street and I can walk home instead of having to go into the city and then having to go back out there only to walk home. It makes so much more sense. So I asked the other guys, or the other people in the cab. It's a van. If any of they live on this side of town. And one guy goes, I think so. I'm like, okay, where do you live? And he says a place, and I'm like, okay, great. We can stop by there. That's not a problem. So we come there, and his stop is before mine. We come there, and I'm like, is here okay? And I have to, like, for minutes before he realizes that I'm trying to get a connection. And other people in the same cab aren't helping me. They're like, I'm like, can we get a move on here, perhaps? Can we get something? But no. Eventually, I get a hold of him, and it's like, I don't know where this is. I don't recognize this place. And I'm like, okay, let's go all the way up. I'll instead of going one way that I had planned out already, because that would mean that I was able to just walk home, like a 5-minute walk. Like, whatever, we'll take a different route and we'll go straight up and we go to the top of the mountain. And I go, okay, is here well? Good? And he goes, I don't know where this is. Bruh, I asked you. You said yes. Whatever. Okay, let's keep going. And that's when he said, you can drop me off at the station and I can walk from there. That's fine. Why didn't you say this from the start? Why have I been trying to make things comfortable? A bit of humanity here, helping each other out here. But no. I have a deep resentment for these kinds of people. Because it's not just that it was trouble getting a hold of him. I couldn't get an answer from him. Like he took time. he had to think. He had to weigh his words. He had to, maha, tafat. I've tried. I did find a translation in English. I did find it, and I did write it down somewhere. I'm sure of it, but I can't remember it now. Because every translation I've tried to find have been dog shit. Wait, it's lower than my... Oh my god, my bitrate is lower. I am trying to stream from Streamlabs rather than OBS, so I'm having some settings issues, it seems. My output... Oh, but I can't change that right now. Okay, I'm going to have to change that after stream then. That's fine. That's fine. Can I get a... Like the inept... This is the word I'm trying to translate, but I'm not finding a good translation here, in my opinion. Awkward is not it. Clumsy is not it. Like, all of these... What is happening here? Why is my screen... No. Actually. Like, this is not supposed to be like this. I am beset with anger. Not really. Again, I'm trying to stream from Streamlabs right now. See if that works better than OBS have. Anyway, awkward. I'm trying to translate tafat, but I can't. Like, all of these could describe it, but it's more like you're disconnected from reality, like glazed over eyes, without initiative. A person without initiative. That's kind of what I'm looking for. A word to describe a person that lacks any and all forms of initiatives. That is who I had to deal with in the car. And I can't convey now the emotions I had back then. Like last week. I can't. It's been a week. I've lost the emotional connection. But it's there somewhere. It is there somewhere. Let's see here. Do we have any news from today that I haven't already checked out? Doesn't seem like it. Unfortunately, most of these articles, why can't I show you? All of these articles are, of course, in Swedish, and that's behind a paywall. Thanks for that. Was that? No, that's me. Okay. But I'm gonna do my best. I'm just gonna see. Wasn't there an English article? Tesla strike. Let's see. You know what? Why don't we read this article and I will fill in the blanks. that I am aware of, at least. There are a few global companies around the world. There are a few companies around the world that have gotten attention for their anti-union stance. Amazon is probably the most well-known, at least in the Western world. Name a Chinese company. Just toss a stone towards a Chinese company, and you'll hit a union breakers. And then there's Tesla, of course. Tesla. We can't rule out Tesla, but Tesla, while they're not the only company, the other two happen to be Swedish companies, actually, but it's probably the biggest company. It is the biggest company to try anti-union busting in Sweden. The morons. There are two other companies. We have Klarna, which is just a payment company. That's all they are. Which Snoop Dogg has made ads for. These are ads for the Swedish-based Klarna Smooth Payments, okay? And then there is a very well-known company, though most people probably don't know that it is Swedish, actually. This guy, Daniel Ek, Swede. Sorry to be the one to break it for you, if you didn't already know. But these and Klarna, Swedish-based companies that are both strike breakers. But now, and there's a big difference here, there's a big reason why this is getting news while the two others isn't. Let's read it, and I'll illuminate it when it happens. Swedish unions are joining in blockade and targeted strikes against the U.S. automaker over its refusal to sign a collective bargaining agreement with its mechanics. That's the point. It's mechanics. There's no similarity in terms of robustness, in terms of institutionalization as the old Swedish unions. They are heavily connected to political parties. They have a large influence over politics in general. If they want to, like, they will shut down your company. In modern, like Klarna and with Spotify in the IT world, there's no such thing, unfortunately. And what is happening here is also that there are a bunch of other unions tangential to the mechanics unions that are like, you're threatening our unions. If you don't sign a collective bargaining agreement with this union, then our employers are going to get ideas, and we can't have that. So it's better to just shut it down now and move on. Unions across Sweden said on Tuesday that they would support an effort to pressure Tesla to sign a collective bargaining agreement, with its 120 mechanics joining a campaign to defend a model of organized labor that many Swedes say is essential to the country's economic success and stability. And the model that we have here in Sweden, and I think in Norway and Finland. I don't know about Denmark. Denmark's a bit weird when it comes to unions. When it comes to work in general, at least for a Nordic country. But the model we have is that the state butts the fuck out We have protection for what is considered full-time hours. We have mandated or in law 40 hours maximum for full-time employment. We have in law how you can have part-time employees. After a certain amount of time, they've worked a stable percentage of full-time work. You are guaranteed an employment, not a hourly employment, but a permanent employment of that percentage after a certain time. We have laws regarding, I think we have laws regarding maximum total amount of hours worked. Like you can't work 200 hours a month or something like that. You know, there's a total amount of cap on total amounts worked. But when it comes to how labor is organized, when it comes to how much we're paid, how we are to engage with our employers or employers, yeah, stuff like that. States has to butt out. Like you can't. There's also you can't ask. Oh, sorry, the wrong one. You can't ask for You can't ask for cards. You can't card your employees. See, that's also a staple of the Swedish model. Now, that would be threatened if the corporation and the union cannot get to the table. Like, at all. Can't even get to the table. It's been years. I think 3 years that the union has tried to get Tesla to the table to start negotiations, and they've refused. Now, that's going to threaten. That's going to mean that eventually the state is going to go, Tesla, what the fuck are you doing? We're going to have to put a boot down here. At least the left-wing government. We'll see. Dock workers said they would expand their blockade of their automaker's shipment to all ports in Sweden next week. After launching the action at 4 key locations, the Electricians Union said its members would stop receiving Tesla charging stations when they needed a repair. Stop servicing Tesla's charging station when they needed a repair. And maintenance workers said they wouldn't clean Tesla facilities. Like, every fucking union is like, Tesla, come on, what the fuck are you doing? And this is why a high union percentage of your workers in a country is important. Why the US has been so thoroughly fucked, because you haven't had strong unions. Collective bargaining is one thing. Sympathetic blockades, now that's how you force a company to their feet. On Monday, the IF Metall, that's the metal workers union, which represents 300,000 workers across the country, including the Tesla mechanics, said its talks with company representative had ended without resolution. The union began the strike action at Tesla 12 service centers on Tesla's 12 service centers on October 27th. Tesla, which entered Sweden in 2013, did not respond to a request for comment. The company told Sweden's TT news agency that it followed Swedish labor market rules but had chosen not to sign a collective agreement. They are following the rules. They are not following the traditions. They're not following the norm. They are breaking massively from the norm in Sweden. It is unfortunate that EF Metall has taken these measures, Tesla told TT in an emailed statement. We already offer equivalent or better agreements than those covered by collective bargaining, and they can continue to do so, but they can't do it without a collective bargaining agreement, okay? Still have to have that as a fallback, but if they want to expand beyond that, that's perfectly fine. They can't do it without a union. I'm sorry. They cannot do it without the fucking union. My brother-in-law, he's a mechanic. He's a new mechanic. He's a newly minted mechanic. And I asked him the other day, are you in a union? Are you in a union? He's like, no, not yet, but I'm gonna. I considering what's happening, I'm gonna have to be. Yeah, this is why you need a union. Tesla also said it was committed to remaining available to our customers during the strike. That's called hiring strike breakers. That appeared to be the case on Tuesday at a Tesla facility in Segeltorp, a suburb of Stockholm, where customers were dropping off and picking up their cars and mechanics were seen coming and going. They declined to speak with a reporter. EF Metall said it believes that Tesla has hired outside workers to replace striking workers, but this could not be independently confirmed because Tesla wouldn't allow it, of course. We know that Tesla has people who are not part of the ordinary workforce working in some locations, said Jesper Pettersson, the union's spokesman. Some Tesla owners arriving to have their cars serviced appear to be nonplussed. Can I get a pronunciation, perhaps? Is that an acceptable thing these days? Nonplussed, okay. Seems to be nonplussed by the labor actions. It should be up to the company whether it signs collective bargaining agreement, said Karin Bjarle, 42, an e-commerce entrepreneur who had the bulbs in her headlights replaced. The unions supporting EF Metall's cause said they were trying not only to improve working conditions for mechanics employed by Tesla, but to defend Sweden's long-standing system of organized labor in which employers and employees work together to reach consensus on wages, benefits, and working hours. And that's the key point here. Tesla does not want you to have insight into how well their company does, because that is partially what a union grants you. The union has lawyers and economists that can go over their documents and say, hey, you've made this much, you take this much from our workers, we think we demand more, we deserve more than that. And then they can start their negotiations. Tesla doesn't want that. Tesla wants to negotiate from the dark. But this is what all other employers get paid over there. Yeah, but you're doing so much better, so we want more. Is that really that unreasonable? Apparently. Such agreements cover about 90% of workers in Sweden. If we let this go, it puts a crack in the whole system, said Tommy Wreeth, head of the Swedish Transport Workers Union, who went to Södertälje Harbor, south of Stockholm, to rally union members around the block against Tesla. This isn't just about the metal workers and transport workers unions. He said. This is important because the whole Swedish model is at stake. The transport union said last week that it would refuse to unload any Teslas arriving by ship to 4 large Swedish ports beginning Tuesday, after it learned that Tesla was rerouting shipments to other ports. The union said it expanded its job action to block such shipments to all Swedish ports starting November 17, unless an agreement is reached. On Tuesday, it was unclear if any shipments of Teslas were scheduled to arrive or were turned away at the ports. Mans Frostel Chief executive at Södertälje Port said Södertälje received an average of 1,200 cars a week. There were no Tesla cars in this week's shipment. Elon Musk, Tesla's chief executive, has repeatedly pushed back against calls to unionize by his 127,000 employees around the world. But AF Metal and its supporters argue that Tesla's employees lack the annual wage increases in insurance and pension coverage and other benefits they would receive if they were under an industry-wide collective agreement. Tesla must accept the rules of the Swedish labor market, and in Sweden we use collective agreements, said Mikael Pettersson, head of negotiations at Elektrikerna, the electricians union. Elektrikerna said its members would not provide any service or repairs at Tesla's 213 charging stations across Sweden starting November 17th. If something breaks, no one will fix it, the union said in a statement. Cleaning staff at Tesla's facilities in the Stockholm area, and one in Umeå in northern Sweden will also start staying home from their jobs on that date, the Swedish Building Maintenance Workers Unions said. Not only unions are joining in the action. Taxi Stockholm, which advertised its adherence to the collective agreement system, said it would cease all new orders of Teslas for its fleet. It's good they're taking these actions, said Jesper Nordgaard, 29, a member of the transport union who works at the port of Södertälje. My question is, why didn't they do it sooner? That's a great question, Jesper. Fantastic question. This was actually a good article. It covered 90% of the things, probably. Yeah, it's that's that's the state of unions and Tesla specifically in Sweden. When Amazon got here, what happened there? I think they caved. There was one guy. There was one guy who was fired in a way that would have been legal in America, but that was without a doubt illegal in Sweden. I just wait. Why are you there? I wonder why we haven't done this collective punishment. Supportive striking against Amazon. It seems like it's been dead for a year. That's interesting. I didn't search for this. I searched for Amazon, but I got something about Musk. The Swedish model irritates Elon Musk. And according to the snippet here, it seems to be irritating him or concerning him more than the White House. That's interesting. I haven't read that before, but wouldn't surprise me. If actually, let's translate. This was actually quite interesting. The strike at the Tesla workshop in Uppsala and other companies and the company's other workplaces in Sweden is described as the usual struggle between anti-union American companies and the cherished Swedish model. But in the background, a bigger battle awaits between the entire Western market economy and an industry, the tech sector, which considers itself a little above things like states, laws, and international agreements. If it was just about the collective bargaining agreement, Tesla would soon lose, just like the toy chain Toys R Us in the 1990s, and many other companies since. The union has every right to take industrial action. Industrial action. That's okay, industrial. Okay, oh, whatever. Stridsåtgärder. I don't know. Stridsåtgärder. Industrial action. Okay, sure. Against companies that refuse to sign a collective agreement, together with sympathy measures from other sectors, it eventually becomes unsustainable to conduct business in Sweden. There is no law against ignoring collective agreements. Companies with around 80% of all employers still find it a good idea to sign such, as they have served both sides of the labor market well. Wage formation generally works well, and the number of strike days in Sweden is very low internationally. Those outside the agreement are largely small businesses with seasonal employees. For example, in the restaurant industry, when the union starts actions and boycotts against them and perhaps forces them to close, it is bad advertising for the Swedish model. With Tesla, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Klarna, the situation is a little different. In the spring, Spotify began negotiations on collective agreements, with several large unions. In August, they pulled out on the grounds that the employees will be better off without these agreements. It is basically the same argument as the nail salon or the summer restaurant. They want the employees' well-being, give them good conditions, and just want to avoid the superstructure with union negotiations in time and out of time. Good terms. Now, yes, the union thinks, as long as everything goes well. The very Swedish wording there. It doesn't really translate that well when you just directly translate it. Another Swedish tech giant, Klarna, does not want to sign a collective agreement for the same reason. The union and Sweden's engineers have therefore announced a strike at Klarna's headquarters in 1 week. That should be now. Klarna strike. Oh, they signed the agreement. Okay. Let's go back to this first. Tesla, Amazon, and Google are following the development with interest. The European Commission and the US Congress should do the same. It is about a group of companies that have grown larger than many countries, which have so far not been able to be tamed with digitalization, competition, or tax legislation. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the others do not take orders from easily controlled politicians with electoral agendas. They want to shape everyone's future themselves, and they are well on their way to succeeding. The Swedish model is a small grain of sand in the global machinery. But right now, the pickets in Fyrislund are rubbing shoulders at least as much. Not a good translation here. But the pickets in Fyrislund are grinding. Grinding is probably grinding at least as much as Washington or Brussels. Very, very interesting. But here, it seems like the strike at Klarna. That's reader mode. That's pinboard. I don't have translation here. Okay. Have been called off because they found a way, like they always seem to. Oh my God, we have money under the mattress over here, huh? Oh well, here you go. Please don't do a strike. Don't strike. I like my money. I want to keep the money flowing in. If we stop the money flowing, then people will realize we don't have anything. Happy? No, you're not. No, you're not. Don't fool yourself. Well, I am happy about this at least. Let's see. When was this? August. "21 hours ago, a researcher says that Spotify will bend. They will fall. Victory!" I have to. Johnny Drama victory. What? Can I? I'm getting ads. I'm getting ads! But why is it just loading like this? See, can anything? Oh.
Because you're not tops in the caboose. Pancake.
Just give it to me. Come on. Music. Music. God damn, it's low on your end, isn't it? That means I'm gonna have to lower there. Yeah, that's better. But I'm not gonna play it because of copyright. Oh, wrong one. Klarna's decision to sign a collective agreement may inspire more people to join a union and give increased faith that collective agreements are possible, say researchers, but it can take months or years. On Friday, Klarna signed a collective agreement with the financial union, and after months of negotiations with the union, a strong contributing factor to their success was that enough people at the workplace became members of the union. That's according to Anders Kjellberg, professor of sociology at Lund University, who researched collective agreements and the Swedish model. Without sufficient membership base, the battle would have become a blow in the air. A blow in the air. A punch in the air. A fart in the ocean, a drop in the ocean, a fart in the wind. The involved unions, Unionen, Sweden's engineers, and Akavia. I've never heard of Akavia. Academics Union, okay, are now working on several fronts to get international companies in newer industries such as tech to enter into collective agreements. Google and Meta, Facebook and Instagram parent company, Alphabet then. If we're going to say Meta, we're going to have to say Alphabet. If we're going to say Google, we can just say Facebook. Whatever. For example, lack collective agreements. At Spotify, negotiations have both started and paused during the year. The union states that they have Meta under supervision, whatever that means. Sweden's engineers have members in 3 to 4 companies that want the employer to sign a collective agreement, and in a couple of them, negotiations have begun. The classes have attracted interest among members of such companies. We received tips that they want a collective agreement because they have seen that it is possible at Klarna, says Camilla Frankelius, head of negotiations at Sweden's engineers to Dagens Arena. But okay, it seems hopeful. It seems hopeful. That's some Swinglish for you. It seems hopeful. When we're looking at unions in Sweden, at There was a time in the past where I was hesitant, not hesitant. I was worried about Swedish union efforts or the unions in Sweden. Am I not recording? Well, that's fun. Okay, well, thank you for that. What if I record now? Oh, oh well. Oh well.
America was an idea.
Okay, cool. I stumbled upon a video the other day. And it's from it's from a guy who looks like this. And it's actually this specific video. Unfiltered Christian, he calls himself. I mean, well, that's obvious. Sargon of Akkad, hello. Is anyone safe? Like, he is on a few hundred subscribers more than me. Fraction of the videos, but I think he writes them out rather than me as doing a live stream where I can just pump out videos like that. So it's a different ball game. I recognize that. Of course, yeah, of course. Oh my god. This is some Gamergate cringe right here. Oh, the thinkery, of course. Hello, Kraut. I don't think you'd be so happy to be in this crowd. Kraut. This isn't really his game anymore. It used to be, but it's not anymore. Oh, the same goes for some black guy. Like, this is all of this. All of these channels, I guarantee, was subscribed to during Gamergate. Oof. Even joined during Gamergate. My private account, my personal account. Let's see if I can show you, if I can brag, if it even is a brag, with how long I've been on YouTube. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. Just going to show you this. "2006, baby. That's how long I've been on YouTube. And YouTube was founded 2005, I want to say. Yeah. 2005. 1 year. 1 year is all I missed of YouTube, okay? That's, like, I am an OG here, okay? This dude, pfft, please. Let's hear it, though. Let's hear it. What is this? Oh, by the way, fair use. Goes for this as well, okay? Whatever. This is like ominous. And now I can't hear myself. I want to have the audio level where I had it so that I can hear myself in the microphone without having to up the gain. But now my eardrums are going to get blasted. So I'm going to have a filter and a gain filter and just up it. Let's go 7. See how that goes. That's a bit low. That's a bit low. Let's go all the way to 10. Still a bit low. 15. That's better. Please stand by. The F word. The original doctrine of fascism. Dun dun dun. Is the F word, I'm guessing, is going to be fascism in and of itself. It's not going to be fagot. You know, it's gonna be fascist.
The F word.
The F word.
No, the F word. Fascism.
Did you just say the F word?
Yep.
You?
No, fascism. It seems like only yesterday that my friend plopped down on my couch in Scottsdale and declared that then candidate Donald Trump was actually a fascist.
Okay.
Is that how you... were they a friend of yours that was actually a fascist? Would you really mock a friend that way?
Okay, now let's try to get an answer from someone who's not a complete retard.
This would have been in late 2015 or early 2016, and since then the F word has gotten thrown around. A lot. And somehow articles and videos about fascism exploded in 2015 and 2016 because Orange Hitler was definitely a fascist. I mean, what else could Orange Hitler be? And no
Well, it's in the name. Like, if he's called Orange Hitler. If anyone's going to be a fascist, it's going to be Orange Hitler. Like, okay. We have original Hitler. Then we had brown Hitler. Then we had yellow Hitler. And now we have orange. Like, it's all Hitler. Just, it's Hitler. He's going to be a fascist because he's going to do Hitler things.
shock, many of the articles and definitions of fascism that I've read somehow all instantly relate to the current American political right. Donald Trump, the alt-right, conservatives, and everyone 3 degrees Dexter of Karl Marx's starboard gonad. But all that really showed me is...
Oh no. Wait. Was that one of the channels? What's his name? Not Sticks and Hexenhammer, but Razorfish. Razor, are you here? Is it Fish or Fist? I can never remember. Rageaholic. Nope. So, oh, maybe. Nope. Okay. But he is heavily influenced by him.
Is that apparently defining fascism is...
By the way, how are you gonna talk about the rise of fascism on the U.S., specifically the U.S. right, but the right in general in the Western world at this point? But it's been in America for longer, at least more pronounced. How are you gonna talk about that without talking about are you gonna talk about them being fascists without talking about them being fascist? What is, like, how do you want us to talk about this, Mr. Unfiltered?
Somewhat difficult to do objectively. So why don't we go back to his starboard gonad? But all that really showed me is that apparently defining fascism is somewhat difficult to do objectively. So why don't we go back to basics, back to the beginning, back to Benito Mussolini. This guy wrote the doctrine of fascism years before World War II, and we have it right here in this book. Now, in this video, I'm going to read.
Oh no. This is all every fascist do. Oh, but they didn't say it. Okay. So, what Mussolini? Oh, I used to be a socialist. I used to be in the Communist Party, and I hold the same values, and therefore fascism is communism. No, it's a fascist. You don't trust what the fascists say about themselves. You don't trust that North Korea is a democratic republic because it's in the name, you know. That's not how stuff works.
His 12 points, and we will dissect it in the next video. Now, quickly,
and that's one less than Umberto Eco has. Curious.
Points to keep in mind. First, some of Mussolini's ideas about fascism flexed a bit with time, but the overall concepts and pillars stayed relatively the same. One example is that Mussolini didn't originally see ethnicity as a big deal until Hitler told him it was a big deal, and Mussolini didn't want to argue with the guy who invented Blitzkrieg. But you'll notice some of these ethnic ideas in the reading as being both interesting and noteworthy, especially given our future discussion on the subject. Second, some of the ideas that Mussolini expresses are not bad in and of themselves, the same way that some ideas that socialists express aren't bad in and of themselves either. Fascism thinks that men should rise up to face difficulty. Socialism thinks that the poor are worth caring for. Now, both of those ideas are in and of themselves either. Fascism thinks that men should rise up to face difficulty.
That is a charitable way of interpreting it. Very charitable, but okay.
Socialism thinks that the poor are worth caring for. Now, both of those ideas, a la carte, aren't bad.
And they're equal, I guess.
They're also not exclusive to fascism or socialism. But for the fascist or socialist, there's an endgame idea present in those concepts, a sort of ulterior motive. It means more than what you took it for at face value. For fascists or socialists, these are not just good ideas. They are steps along a path to a specific utopia. For you and for me, these might be singular noble concepts. For the fascist or the socialist, these are puzzle pieces. They have a specific meaning for a specific reason, and they have a specific fit into the larger mosaic of the ideology. My final point.
God, he can just orate on end, can't he? Take a breather, dude. Get to the point. You're saying we're shifty. I get it. I understand. Just say we're shifty. Just call us Jewish and get over with it, you know? For socialists, helping the poor is but a puzzle piece in the larger... No. Helping the poor is helping the poor. That has nothing to do with me being a socialist and that leading to something greater. No, it's helping the poor is helping the poor. Now, if by leading to something better, you mean, oh, we can use that as a case study to later perhaps implement something else. Some other social program that helps people. My goal is for the workers to control the economy. That is my goal. But it's not a hidden goal. I'm not a crypto anything here. I'm explicit in my goal. Let the workers control the economy. That has nothing to do with helping poor people. In fact, the two have nothing to do with each other. Now, tangentially, they have something to do with each other because I believe that my care and my advocacy for the working class stems from my empathy with those less fortunate. Now, I'm not the most fortunate person. I'm not even a middle class person. I was on my way there, but my brain chemistry put a stop to that shit. Like that. It didn't stop my brother though, so good for him, I guess. But yeah, no. My empathy is what leads me towards wanting to help the lessers in society. But the two are not connected in principles or in anything like that.
Point is to look for themes. Look for what Mussolini keeps coming back to. What's his big idea? What's all this boil down to? Listen for who he's contradicting in terms of politics now, and listen for who he's agreeing with in our modern era. So grab some popcorn or pasta or sambuca or even a good table wine and some cheese will work, and let's do something usually reserved for that critical third date. Let's read the original definition of fascism. And pardon me while I go all Nick Offerman on you, ginger ale with a
The original definition of fascism? Who cares? Like, is it really important? We have, why don't we? Original definition of socialism. Why don't we? Pierre Leroux, who claimed priority in coining the word socialism, presented his definition of the term as a political organization in which the individual is sacrificed to society, stating he had intended to create a term that will directly oppose the term individualism. Does anybody, apart from bad faith actors, actually use this definition? No, of course not. Marx's definition of socialism is that that of production for use value, i.e. direct satisfaction of human needs or economic demands. Therefore, the law of value no longer directly directs economic activity. Marxist production of use is quoted. This is not a Marxist definition of socialism. Can we get a concise? I'm going to say worker-controlled economy. Is that a... whatever. I'm going to say worker-controlled economy to like condense his body of work into like a catchphrase.
Splash of aloe. Superb. You guys have no idea how hard it's going to be to turn the pages with these gloves on. I am taking this for the team. All right, boys and...
Bruh. When did this come out?
Merc.
Oh, part 2, and this is part 1. Oh, 3 years ago. Oh my god. But still 1 year and 13 days. Oh my god. So this is like hiatus central or something? Oh my god, Kyrgyzstan. Hello, Jeff. How are you doing, Jeff? Nice to see you, Jeff. And of course the... oof. Like on the nose. Jumped straight into Gamergate, never popped off. What was his most viewed video? 3.8K. The alt-right versus conservatives, key differences.
girls, are you all comfortable? Here we go.
My point is, nobody cares about the gloves. Nobody cares about taking one for the team. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about me either, by the way. But they especially do not care about you, is my point. Like, there's no amount. Your mother, she cares about you. But that's about it. Sargon Avocad, never heard of you. Jeff Holiday. if he heard about you, would despise you today. Dave Rubin, I'm pretty sure you'd despise him today. Who else? Oh, Tim Pool. Never heard of you. Never gonna see you. Never gonna know who you are, ever. Okay, you're just gonna have to live with that. Sorry.
The Doctrine of Fascism by Benito Mussolini. The English translation of the Fundamental Ideas is by Mr. I.S. Munro, reprinted by his kind permission from Fascism to World Power by Alexander McElhose, London, 1933.
Are you just gonna read from the book cover to cover? Is that what we're doing here?
Fundamental Ideas. Philosophic conception. Like every concrete political conception, fascism is thought and action. It is action with inherent doctrine, which, arising out of a given...
Let's just to amuse myself here, because he's going to read from cover to cover. That's not something I'm particularly interested in. But what I am interested in is to see how much of Ur-fascism from Umberto Eco we can cross off. I heard action. Action for action's sake. Cult of redirection of modernity. Cult of action for action's sake. Chic.
Hello, my name...
Nope, not yet.
And system of historic forces is inserted in it and works on it from within. It therefore has a form correlated to the contingencies of time and place, but it has at the same time an ideal content which elevates it into a formula of truth in the higher region of the history of thought. There is no way of exercising a spiritual influence on the things of the world by means of a human willpower commanding the will of others without first having a clear conception of the particular and transient reality in which the willpower must act, and without also having...
What he's... Ameliorate. What has he said? Seriously, what has he said?
A clear conception of the universal and permanent reality in which the particular and
given system of historic forces is inserted in it and worked on it from within, is it therefore has a form correlated to the contingencies of time in place, but it has... What the fuck are you talking about? Mussolini. I misspelled. No, I didn't. Book on Doctrine on Fascism. Can I just get a PDF? Elevates it into a formula. Elevates formula. Historic. Oh, it's literally the first lines. Like all sound political conceptions, fascism is action and it is thought. Action in which doctrine is imminent and doctrine arising from a given system of historical forces in which it is inserted and working on them from within. It is therefore a form correlated to contingencies of time and space, but it has also an ideal content which makes it an expression of truth in the higher region of the history of thought. He was coked out when he wrote this. What the fuck? So essentially what he's saying is fascism will take whatever form it needs in order to smuggle its way into the political arena of wherever they are. Pretty much. That's what he's saying. It will take the form necessary to survive. And, okay, say that. What the... historical forces in which it is inserted and working on them from within. It has therefore a form correlated to contingencies of time and space. But it has also an ideal content which makes it an expression of truth in the higher... Like, this is like the Coke speaking completely, okay? An expression of truth in the higher region of the history of thought. Bruh? No. No. Mussolini is not a great thinker. If Marx had written this, go off, King. Go off. There have been entire academic fields created thanks to Marx writing, okay? Mussolini, not so much. There is no way of exercising a spiritual influence in the world as a human will dominating the will of others, unless one has a conception of both of the transient and the specific reality on which that action is to be exercised, and of the permanent and universal reality in which the transient dwells and has its what? Bruh. And how is this dude gonna spin this?
Transient reality has its life and being. To know men, we must have a knowledge of man, and to have a knowledge of man.
To know men, one must know man, and to know man, one must be acquainted with the reality of its laws. What did he say?
And being. To know men, we must have a knowledge of man, and to have a knowledge of man, we must know the reality of things and their laws. This is going to be a long reading. But here's where it gets good. There can be no conception of a state.
Oh, now it's get. Pick and choose, man. Just pick the parts. Don't do the whole, I'm going to read it from cover to cover bit, okay? That's not going to work here.
Which is not fundamentally a conception of life.
There can be no concept of a state which is not fundamentally a conception of life. There can be no conception of the state which is not fundamentally a conception of life, philosophy, and intuition. Why are you putting a dot there? There's not a dot there. Philosophy or intuition, system of ideas evolving within the framework of logic or concentrated in a vision or a faith, but always, at least potentially, an organic conception of the world.
It is a philosophy or intuition, a system of ideas which evolves itself into a system of logical construction, or which concentrates itself in a vision or in a faith, but which is always, at least virtually, an organic conception of the world. If you were looking for an ideal point to take a huge bong rip, now is your cue. Point 2. Spiritualized conception. Fascism would therefore not be understood in many of its manifestations, as, for example, its organizations of the party.
So he just, there's no analysis, there's no discussion, it's just, let's read what Mussolini had to say. Sit around the campfire, kids. We're going to read some Mussolini here, okay? Everyone's favorite nap time author. Like up there with Roald Dahl, you know? Astrid Lindgren, Roald Dahl, Benito Mussolini. Right next to Hitler.
System of education, its discipline, were it not considered in the light of the general view of life. A spiritualized view. To fascism, this world is not a material world which appears on the surface, in which man is an individual separated from all other men, standing by himself and subject to a natural law which instinctively impels him to lead a life of momentary and egoistic pleasure. In fascism, man is an individual who is the nation and the country.
Thus, many of the practical expressions of fascism, such as party, or if he had just had the text on the screen, this would have been so much easier to follow along. Because this is Old English, which I'm guessing this book has translated to less Old English but it's still like hard to penetrate without the words on the screen. But he doesn't want you to do that either because he's lazy, which I have no doubt in my mind as a lazy boy myself that this is true. Especially considering he has like one video a year. I think he can put some effort into it. I am lazy because I can't be bothered. That's why I'm lazy. This guy's lazy because, well, wait, he switched mic? He's switched mics. No. Oh, he seems to be switching mic a lot, actually. Because, wait. So you have one mic on screen here, but another mic on there. Okay. If we go here, what mic did you use? Come on.
The film powder.
Oh, there's not even an image here. So I'm guessing you had this type of mic here then?
History as a whole.
Yes, you did. The Kurds. Did you have that mic there? I am more interested in this than listen. No, you didn't. For one video and then
you start.
You really had it for. I'm just gonna double check here.
Stop for a free bus.
You really had that mic for one video and went, you know what? With these 260 views, I'm gonna have to upgrade to the SM7B because that's what the cool kids have. And now you don't even have that, dude.
The gas
you
station.
have an E something. Pro microphone. Studio. Not the Shure SM7B is what he used to have. Dynamic. Why is it so hard to find? Not the Rode. Not the Rode. Not Audio-Technica, though they are similar. Podcast microphones. Just come on. Be a bro. Be a fucking bro for once, Google. Please. High-end studio microphones. EV. There we are. I can never remember. It might actually be the RE20, yes. Electro Voice, of course. Oh, of course. But yeah, dude, stick to a mic. Or did you have to sell it? But then you go out and buy an equally expensive one? Like, I like that microphone a lot better, though. The EV RE20. I love the voice. When I can afford one, I will buy one of those. I like this one, though. It's fine. But, dude, do videos. Don't focus on the technical shit, Thus, many of the practical expressions of fascism, such as party organization, system of education, and discipline, can only be understood when considered in relation to its general attitude towards life, a spiritual attitude. Fascism sees in the world not only those superficial material aspects in which man appears as an individual, standing by himself, self-centered, subject to natural law, which instinctively urges him toward a life of selfish, momentary pleasure. It sees not only the individual, but the nation and the country, individuals and generations, bound together by a moral law, which common traditions and a mission which suppressing the instinct of life closed in a brief circle of pleasure, building up a higher life founded on duty, a life free from the limitations of time and space, in which the individual, by self-sacrifice, the renunciation of self-interest by death itself, can achieve that. What the fuck? Lay off the coke, dude. Lay off the goddamn coke.
He is this by a moral law which embraces and binds together individuals and generations in an established tradition and mission. A moral law which suppresses the instinct to lead a life confined to a brief cycle of pleasure in order, instead, to replace it within the orbit of duty in a superior conception of life free from the limits of time and space, a life in which the individual, by self-abnegation and by the sacrifice
Why do you force me? Hey, Social Blade. Nice to see you. Orwell, last warning. Why are you forcing me to do this again?
Emotions except fear. In at the
future.
I think that allowing for the book being, after all, a parody, something like 1984 could actually happen. This is the direction the world is going in at the present time. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement.
And self-abasement. The denial or abasement of oneself. Now, granted, Orwell here, he's probably actually read Mussolini's work. Or he's familiar with it at least. And the prescription of, what was it, self-abnegation? I don't know what the original wording was, but sure.
Of his particular interests, even in death, realizes the entire spiritual existence in which his value as a man consists. Point 3. The positive conception of life as a struggle. It is therefore a spiritual...
This is... its appeal to social frustration. One of the most typical features of the historical fascism was the appeal to a frustrated middle class, a class suffering from an economic crisis or feeling of political humiliation and frightened by the pressure of lower social groups. Struggle is a part of life. Contempt for the weak. If you can't... Am I hiding it? If you can't survive the struggles... You're not a part of the movement, my dude. It's as simple as that. It's also machismo and weaponry, you know, suffering, struggle. You know, it's part of that shit. I don't know if it's rejection of modernism. I think it's tangential to a rejection of modernism, where modernism values, or let me put it this way: modernists value human pleasure, human not suffering, human flourishing. It's not a, but the ideology itself says nothing about it, but the people tend to, at least, I believe.
Conception itself also a result of the general reaction of the century against the languid and materialistic positivism of the 18th century. Anti-positivist, but positive, neither skeptical nor agnostic, neither pessimistic nor passively optimistic, as are
Anti the concept is therefore a spiritual one, arising from the general reaction of the century against the materialistic positivism. The conception is therefore a spiritual one, arising from the general reaction of the century against the materialistic positivism of the 19th century. Anti-positivistic, but positive. Anti-positivist. Like, this doesn't feel like the same translation. Neither skeptical nor agnostic, neither pessimistic nor supinely optimistic, as are, generally speaking, the doctrines, all negative, which place the center of life outside of man. Whereas by the exercise of his free will, man can and must create his own world.
In general, the doctrines, all of them negative, which place the center of life outside man, who by his free will can and should create his own world for himself.
Here, positivism is trafficking with the enemy. Can't be passive. You have to be active. Create your own world. Oh my God! This is. I haven't thought of that actually. This is note by note what people like Andrew Tate, Sneeko, and that whole manosphere is doing. Hustle culture. This is hustle culture. Anti-positivist, but positive. Neither skeptical nor agnostic, neither pessimistic nor positively optimistic, as are in general the doctrines, all of them negative, which place the center of life outside of man, who by his free will can and should create his own world for himself. Sneeko, Tate, all those people, they center the life of their pupils, their acolytes, outside of themselves. Their worth is in the materialistic part. But at the same time, they're telling the people it is them. They have to focus on them. They have to create the world for themselves. Yeah, okay.
Fascism wants a man to be active and to be absorbed in action with all his energies. It wants him to have a manly consciousness of the difficulties that exist and be ready to face them. It conceives of life as a struggle, thinking that it is the duty of man to conquer that life which is really worthy of him, creating in the first place within himself the physical...
Okay, I'm just going to skip this because he's just reading, and I am... so not interested in hearing him drone on and on and on. And that's all he's going to do, apparently. Like, my dude. Oh, wait, not the minute player. What is this?
Character, the faith. And for this end, it exacts discipline and authority which descend into and dominates the interior of the spirit without opposition. Its emblem, therefore, is the Lictorian fasces, the symbol of unity, of force, and of justice. As you can tell, Mussolini's pompous nature definitely comes through in his writing. Now, I'm going to have more thoughts on this, and I've been working on it for a while, as you might imagine. But think about what you've heard Mussolini write. Think about these ideas, and we're going to Homework! Think about what you've heard Mussolini write.
Homework! My dude, you don't even have 600 subscribers and you're asking them to do homework?
Think about these ideas.
What is Mussolini's big idea? Nothing? Everything? The power consolidated into one person? I don't know. What is the central tenet of his doctrine? The power consolidated in a person? Like, spiritualism. It's nebulous. It's cringe. Is there a match to his doctrine in American politics? Yeah. Orange Hitler. Like, we already had Hitler and he was friends with Mussolini. Why wouldn't Orange Hitler be friends with... Like, it just stands to reason that Orange Hitler would also be friends with Mussolini and enjoy his writing, you know? What are his best ideas? Like, we can ask this question of everyone. Like, what was Hitler's best idea? Discuss at home and get back to me in the comment section. No, fuck you.
And we're going to dissect them in the next video. So yes, this one might have been a little slow, but the next one will be a lot more fun.
Oh, it's the next one. That's where all the fun is had. So this was just reading from the book. And then so 4 years. It takes a whole year for him. Wait, how long exactly does it take?
And transient.
When did this come out? Oh, almost 4 years ago to the dot. And this came out. It took you a year to make part 2, my man. Okay, it took you a year. Do you have a part 2 for this? Wait. Why? Why? So you had the F word, the doctrine of fascism, where you just read a Mussolini book, okay? Let me just bring out Mein Kampf and start reading, I guess. Oh, that's an interesting passage. Bring out the bong hits for this one, my dude. And then you do a deconstructing the doctrine of fascism, part 1. And then you do part 2 here, but I'm looking for part 2 of deconstructing the doctrine. It's been 3 years. I mean, you've had time, haven't you? Maybe time to update, you know, instead of whatever this is. Okay, we're going to give this a few minutes to see if it's fun at all.
So, fascism. In my last video, I read some of Italian dictator Benito Mussolini's writings and definitions of fascism without any commentary or analysis.
Bit weird.
That was not easy. In theory, you should have seen the first video, but I recognize that political writings are hard to get through. So I've done this video as my analysis and commentary on Mussolini's work, and even if you didn't watch the last vid, you'll probably still be okay. Probably. Still, it's there as a source of reference.
Everyone
this is the second
okay
script and third recording of this video, and I will explain why. When I read Mussolini's first writing, you'll notice that I read...
Just it's a one, like, you do a one-off. You just put it out there. It's good enough. Good enough is my mantra, okay? This is good enough. Whatever you're doing, whatever this whole setup is, too much, okay? Is that even a real background? If it is, what is there usually? Why does it take you a fucking year between videos? It's too much, okay? Just do good enough.
Read each section in order and that each section was numbered, and so that was exactly how I wrote my original response. But Mussolini didn't exactly build things up in a logical...
Okay. So I'm guessing he read like an abridged or something like an analysis of Mussolini's book, not from the book itself. I see.
Order. When he did that, there's foundational, peripheral, and tertiary attributes of fascism scattered throughout each section. So Mussolini sort of builds the house from one end to the other rather than start with a completely foundational approach and then going from there. I'd rather lay this out foundationally and then give you the walls and the roof to show you what fascism's house is built on and what it really looks like. So let's dive in and deconstruct the doctrine of ideas to fascism that are scattered throughout the reading. Keep in mind, these might not be objectively true, but what's important here is that Mussolini and fascism believes these things.
Mussolini? That's Mussolini. Oh yeah, apparently Muscle Hitler.
To be true about fascism. In the early sections, Mussolini says that fascism is not only born out of historical reality and an objective view of history, but that fascism is aligned with nature itself, the nature of man, of things and their laws, and aligned with the way the universe works. So, fascism is, according to Mussolini, consistent with nature, morality, religion, spirituality, history, and so on. Alignment with fascism is alignment with the truth of the universe, and to fight it is to fight against the natural state of things. Now,
you know what? He's not wrong that this is how fascists view themselves. And I'm certain this is how Mussolini viewed himself. I didn't watch the last video. But sure. That's kind of the problem, though, isn't it? Like when I describe socialism, the way my form of socialism, the things that I advocate for, I do not talk about being aligned with nature or some hippy-dippy bullshit like that. I talk about the material conditions. I talk about why I think it would improve society, why humans would be better served by it. Not, oh, but it's based on historical and if you're against it, you're against nature. Because that leads to bad outcomes. That leads to really bad outcomes. There's I was listening to an episode of QAnon Anonymous, the podcast about QAnon and conspiracies at large, where they interview a person who came up from the yogi and the naturalistic world, pseudoscience, hippy-dippy, stuff like that, you know? And he said there is a strong correlation between what we're seeing right now with Donald Trump, with QAnon, and these types of people. JFK Jr. That was a weird... Junior. JFK Jr. has been part of those circles himself, considering his stance on the environment stuff. But that's part of fascism, you know, appealing to the greater good, appealing to nature, appealing to, if you're against this, you're against humanity, you know? That's part of fascism.
Because of the all-encompassing rightness of fascism, Mussolini correctly writes that fascism isn't...
Like, does he have the same shirt every time?
America.
I think he does, doesn't he? Not there. Not in the early days. But absolutely here. Right? Yeah.
He said.
Yeah.
Isn't just a system of government. It's also a system of thought. And as a system of thought, it's good enough for, well, everything. Mussolini puts it this way: fascism is a totalizing concept, and the fascist state, the unification and synthesis of every value, interprets, develops, and potentiates the whole life of the people. In other words, fascism is so complete and thorough in its evaluation of human life that there's really not much that's outside of the interest of fascism. Fascism isn't just interested in the political part of your life, it's interested in all of your life.
I'm waiting for the analysis part. Where's the analysis? I'm not hearing the analysis.
and there's no possibility for opting out. But fascism isn't just interested in being disciplined and orderly and organized for the sake of itself. No, it has a
There's no analysis here. Dude, what happened with deconstructing this? Are you just agreeing? It sounds like you're agreeing.
manifestation in mind, an apparatus and an entity that is the expression of all of the values that Mussolini espouses. The manifestation of these fascist values is found in one place and one place only: the state. The state, the state, the state, the state, the state. Let's just never speak of that.
Yeah, there's no analysis. You're just agreeing then, I guess.
So what is the state under fascism, and what does it do? Here's what Mussolini had to say on the nature of the fascist state. A series of quotes in no particular order. All is comprised in the state, and nothing spiritual or human exists, much less has any value, outside of the state. All within the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. The state, in fact, as a universal ethical will, is the creator of right. There can be no conception of a state which is not fundamentally a conception of life.
I'm waiting for the analysis
is created by the state, which gives the people their will and thereby an effective existence. Fascism reaffirms the state as the only true expression, comes back to the state. Now, this has significant impact on concepts like individualism, religion, democracy, capitalism, economics, race, class, and so on, and we'll be diving into some of those very shortly. But if you remember from the end of the first video, I encouraged you, as the viewer, to consider what Mussolini's big idea was, and part of that big idea is the totality and the completeness of the state. For Mussolini, the state isn't the main thing. The state is everything. In the section, The Role of the
So this is something, because now he's actually started to deconstruct a bit, I guess. This is something that fascists do. This is what led me down, and we could just end it there, I guess. Because he's not going to say anything interesting. I understand why he's stuck at the numbers he is, okay? What he's doing is giving you, just like second thoughts, just like Jimmy Dore, whenever he tries to not Jimmy Dore, perhaps he's not too Hinkle, absolutely. Like anyone who espouses fascism as a ruling order always does this. They never talk about what they ascribe to. They never talk about their own political aspirations, how they want the world to be. What they do is to talk about the common problems we have. So Republicans in America and Democrats, for that instance, love to talk about how hard the working people have it. The working class man, he can barely pay rent, he can barely afford the food, he can't even buy his 3-year-old daughter a Christmas present. What is more American than being able to buy a Christmas present and he can't afford it? Shame. I wish someone would do something about that, said the president. It's very common that they do stuff like that. Or, as he was doing here, as he was talking about some rather bad aspects of fascism, like the main reason it's bad, everything, not the main reason, I guess, but one of the big reasons why it's bad, everything is controlled by the state, period. If you don't allow it to be controlled by the state, you are against the state, therefore the state will eliminate you. You describe that, but you never condemn it. You never do any... You don't talk about why it's bad or why it's good if you believe that. You just mention it, and then you leave it. And then just leave it there. That's a very common tactic by I think this is more common by the right-wing fascists than left-wing fascists. Because like we heard Second Thought say, I understand that these things are bad, but they are necessary to achieve socialism. This guy isn't doing that because he is a fascist. He is an open. Well, he's more or less. I mean, he's not showing his face. He doesn't do any firm. He doesn't plant his feet anywhere where he can be proven to be wrong, or he can alienate a portion of his audience, his large audience, you know. Dude, take a stand. Admit, speak with your chest. Say what you mean, but say it.
State, Mussolini writes that,
I know, quote,
I
said we
the
shouldn't listen to him, but
state,
whatever.
The highest and most powerful form of personality is a force. It reassumes all the forms of the moral and intellectual.
The fascist state, the highest and most powerful form of personality, is a What? Again, lay off the coke. The fascist state, I'm assuming he doesn't mean state of mind, but he means governmental structure. The highest and most powerful form of personality is a force. What? What are you talking about, Mussolini? It reassumes all the forms of the moral and intellectual life of man. It is an internal form and rule, a discipline of the entire person. It penetrates the will as well as the intelligence. That is fucking scary. That is not something... I would talk about this when it comes to capitalism. Like, I would talk about this type of thing, or in these states of mind, because I guess that must be what he's talking about. I would talk about things affecting a state, things affecting people's mental state and thought processes at such a deep level, either with condemnation or with lack of emotion entirely. And the only way I would do it with lack of emotion entirely is if we're talking about forces outside of human control. We have... let's say we have a storm. That's not good. A virus. I could talk about a virus that affects people. That comes from cat poop. The toxoplasmosis. 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 It can actually affect your brain pattern. It can affect your thought patterns. It can affect... You will love cats. You know, crazy cat ladies. They are affected by this, apparently. They are infected with a worm that makes you love cats even more. In that terminology, I would probably speak about that as a... What was the exact words they use? The highest and most powerful form of personality is a force. Whatever. It reassumes... The virus reassumes all the forms of the moral and intellectual life of man. It is an internal form and rule, a discipline of the entire person. It penetrates the will as well as the intelligence. Yeah, I could talk about a virus that affects the mental state that way. Or I could talk about something I condemn, like fascism, like capitalism. Communism, I don't know if it would. In a sense, yes. In that it removes certain aspects of our life that we would otherwise be preoccupied by. Worrying about where you're going to get your next meal have a detrimental effect on your mental state. But again, we're talking about outside forces having an effect on people's minds and states. this is supposed to be a positive thing about being a fascist. If you're a fascist, like, this is supposed to be good?
Intellectual life of man.
It's a mind virus.
It is an internal form, traits the human personality in this.
That's just
belief is a form of collectivism, and like is shunned.
Here, let's see.
Individualism is shunned under fascism because fascism is a form of collectivism, and like many or most forms of state collectivism, opting out is not possible. But fascism is not merely collectivist. It is also, quote, anti-individualistic. The fascist conception is for the state. It is for the individual only insofar as he coincides with the state. Mussolini saw classical liberalism as something that affirmed the interests of the individual at the expense of the state. He rejected this idea, saying that fascism reaffirms the state as the only true expression of the individual. In other words, fascism supports your individualistic ideas and desires as long as they coincide or support or benefit the state. But ultimately, your existence is and should be one of what Mussolini calls self-abnegation, a selfless life of duty where you sacrifice your particular interests to the collective. He wrote that.
So, okay. Okay, I know where this guy's going and what he's trying to do. I can just not see the entire video and get there. What he's doing, what he's trying to do, is to say Trump can't be a fascist because he doesn't do X, Y, and Z. Well, he doesn't. He believes in the individual. He opposes the collective. He opposes the collective, and he wants. He does. Sorry. God. He wants to remove the state from people's lives more. Whereas Mussolini, if we go to by the founding definition of fascism, he wouldn't agree with Trump very much, would he? Well, actually, he would. They would just not agree on everything, I guess, or the way towards everything. But to think that Trump doesn't want collectivism, really? Trump, we must ban all Muslims from entering the country? That guy? The Christian fascist? He wouldn't get along with Mussolini? Are we sure about that? Are we sure about that? Fascist. You can never trust a fascist. Okay, I'm gonna have to take this call. I'm just gonna... If you call once, I don't answer. If you call twice, I will answer, because then it's something important. And when I ask her, my mom, what is it? She goes, oh, it's nothing. I just want to talk. Whatever. Jeff, before we leave this wretched channel to rot, I wanna bathe in your shame a bit, if you allow me.
My name is Jeff Holiday, and today we're going to be answering the question, what is Kekistan? For many people,
what is Kekistan? Huh? Jeff, how would you describe Kekistan?
Kekistan is a very confusing thing. Something springing up out of nowhere on television and in articles, and everybody seems to have the same question of, what is Kekistan? And by and large, the people who enjoy Kekistan usually kind of snicker and laugh a little bit because it's kind of an inside joke. Sort of. Ish. It's an inside joke with open doors. But it
started as an inside joke It didn't end there, did it?
Unfortunately, left unchecked, this meme has gotten a little out of hand. Out of hand and straight into the hands of the mainstream media, who then have decided to state what Kekistan is, even though they don't actually understand what it is. For that purpose, this video is being made, and hopefully this will clear up some of the confusion, and I can share with you the
Is this just a rip of Jeff? I think it's just a rip of Jeff. Or is it? But what? Okay, let's go to the. Well, Jeff, do you have a? Watch for my clip. Oh, how cute! Watch for my clip. Aw. Where is your clip?
I am Kekistan.
I
Is that you? I don't know.
am Kekistan.
Inizioni.
Ooh.
I am Kekistan.
I am Kekistan.
Inizioni. Veni Kekistan.
Ah, you're a Zionist even. Ugh. Okay. Wait, you're a Christian Zionist even. That's double embarrassment. I have no ending words. I have nothing but contempt and condemnation. Give up, first of all. It's not going to happen for you. Okay. Gamergate is over. If you haven't heard. Just a heads up. 10 years afterwards. It's been 8 years since it died, perhaps. Don't switch microphones so much. Like, why? The original condenser mic you had worked fine. Then you had an Shure SM7B, which worked fine. And then you switched to an EV RE20, which works fine. What's going to be the next one? Where are you going to end? Huh? What's the point? Yeah, just stop. Stop it. Stop. The channel is dead. Long dead. Nobody, apart from me, watches it.
Hello,
Merrick was an
I don't want you. I want Social Blade. Social Blade. Down 200%. This means nothing though. He uploads something probably, and someone like, oh, I'm still subscribed to that. Ugh. Yeah. And this is after the video came out. Oof. He was riding high here, and then I shouldn't speak, but I haven't been at this for a long time even. So I mean, I'm doing okay for me. I've been at this for a year, so whatever. I'm just saying. Stop, please stop. For all that is holy, please. What's this? I feel like No. When did I add this? Can I see that? No, I can't. It's been a few days at least. I'm gonna say November 2nd. Let's go 3rd and see what happens. There was something that was interesting that I wanted to see. But I don't think it's here. Nope.
God's job.
Dugin. There we go. Exactly a week ago. Okay.
God's job. No, it's our job.
Let me just see so I haven't missed. No, I haven't. Great.
2. We will be the plan.
You know what? Before I do this, I just wanna talk a bit about this website, emmaolivets.wordpress.com. It is a collection. It archives every article from every Russian outlet or mouthpiece that you can find. And that's all it does. It just archives. Oh, this is interesting. When I found this website, I did a bit of sleuthing. I opened a few links, and I found a pattern that I can't explain. That is really, really strange. Oh, Sputnik, of course. Sure, why not? But this doesn't seem to have it, of course, because that's a mainstream or a main news source. The pattern I saw was that no website that I went to, oh, this is one of them, none of their links work. If I go like this, I am unable to open anything here. This is very, very strange. I don't know why you'd create this type of website. Like, it's not hard to do a website that just serves you blog articles these days. Is it? By Jeremy Corbyn. Was this posted somewhere else? It's actually go like this. In Al Jazeera. That makes more sense. But again, it's interesting. But these people interact with it. These people find it. How? And this wasn't the only website that did this. There were more of them, like 3 or 4 that I happened to click on. And of course, like, buy the book, 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 buy the book. Like, what is this website? I am brought back into the 1990s with this website design. So the header isn't clickable. Home is clickable. .online. Cost you a penny. Penny and a reach around, perhaps. I just find this very, very fascinating. I could probably scroll here for hours finding new shit at every turn. I saw something, of course. That was another thing I've seen. What is this website? Like, Hinkle is being cited by the foreign press. Like, he's being cited as an authority on shit. The Cradle seems to work. Back to Sputnik. The Cradle works, so that's fine. That's interesting. What did it say? What did it say? I have to see. This site can't be reached. Let me do it like this. Took too long to respond. Oh, it's error timeout. Okay. Well, I don't think it was my internet that acted up. I do believe that it's theirs. But the Cradle. I'm gonna trust the Cradle with anything. I am looking for. I see about. I see this. I don't see. Become an author. I don't see an about page. New. Why new? Okay, well, whatever. It's a shit website, probably. Nothing there. But yeah, what the fuck is this website? Moon of Alabama. This is the Moonies. Is it still up? It has to be up, right? Unification.org. Did they take it down? They've taken it down. Whatever. I've seen a lot of Jan-Olof Bengtsson. Why? This guy is Swedish, I believe. References. I mean, there's a lot of Swedish names here. I mean, it could be Finnish for all I know. Most likely. Oh, it's written in Swedish even, of course. I'm actually wondering, what are they saying about my boy? The Americans' own overcoming of what we call Atlanticism is the most important, I point out again, since I am expected to write mostly about Europe. And of course, I am also Americanized, aware of that. I have tried to argue that since Americanization is inevitable, not least in Sweden, one must make the best of the situation, that one should at least be Americanized by the right America, that the America that is worth to be Americanized by. That is not Jackson Hinkle. It's an interesting approach that I don't disagree with, actually. It is inevitable, and since it is inevitable, let's choose which parts of America we are influenced by. Perhaps Jackson Hinkle has come across as a light-hearted popularizer of what already presents itself as a populism, or more precisely, wants to be associated with a populism, namely Haas MAGA communism. This dude is read up. At least insofar as behind this name, in Haas himself, in reality, also hides in the history of Marxism to a great extent a philosophical and academically initiated force. There is definitely a place for popularization. Haas often crude MAGA populist and alt-right aligned jargon, and provocative outbursts are not always sufficient for this purpose. His long live streams are characterized by a spectacular, new and unmediated unity of his jargon and the intellectual content, while Hinkle is free of the jargon, but at the same time pedagogically simplifies at least some aspects of results of Haas thinking. Is this dude saying we should listen to Hinkle? Is that what he's getting at? Hinkle is just one of several who devote themselves to popularization, but not least because of his different style and form. He has become the most well-known and successful Among other things, he has been interviewed by Tucker Carlson, and he spoke at the historic right-wing and left-wing dissident Rage Against the War Machine demonstration in Washington this spring. However, I have not followed him closely and cannot make any general judgments about him, about the degree of his seriousness, in his depth of intention, but the clip below is in any case a good example of the communicative ability that the media requires. The first Swede I come across, outside of myself, that talks about Hinkle, and he's talking about him in positive terms. There is certainly something to be added to what he says about communism, the state, and the common good, which all fascists use, about China and Marxism-Leninism, about ownership of land in China, but the essential thing is a general vision he presents, and of which what he says about these things is a part. It appears as nothing more than a vision of healthy conservatism. Conservatism. That at least is correct. Hinkle too often gives the impression of being a ridiculous provocateur. I've been following him sporadically for a little over 2 years now, and he's rarely skimmed on hopelessly counterproductive, downright incomprehensibly stupid schemes. You mentioned Haas alt-right jargon. I think I fit in well at Hinkle. I assume. Yeah. I think it fits in well at Hinkle too. But the interview with this Tim Pool, who I don't know very well, was pretty good. It shows that he too, when he wants to desire like Haas, can stay above such things. Apparently I was completely wrong about him. It was boring. I should probably delete this post, or could I perhaps remain because his effort here was still quite good? I think you should leave the post like Haas. After all, Hinkle also has this bright moment. Really? They are positive about Haas? Who the fuck is this guy? Unlike his endless impromptu fucking live streams. Okay. Okay. It actually is fucking in the literal sense, in the Swedish. Fucking live streams. Haas works very well not only in his rare, short, disciplined video presentations, but also in interviews. Even in them, he avoids the language of fucking. yeah, literally. It shouldn't by now start to become obvious to most people how fucked up the populist nationalism and alternative right that has allied itself with the mainstream Atlanticist right is. Not at least in Sweden, whose variant of this right has not the slightest tendency to even produce leaders of Trump type, thank fucking God. In Italy, the Atlantic fanatic Meloni is far worse than Trump. In line with early NATO post-fascism, it is urgently necessary to present a truly conservative alternative. Oh my God, and they're going to Jackson Hinkle for that. And Haas. What I wanted to show you, I can actually do this. I can go here, and instead of going that way, I can go this way. Because I found an interesting trend. Like when you search him and you search for like who is he and stuff like that, you get a lot of these that doesn't mention Russia at all. How are you, Russia? Like his girlfriend's from Russia. You don't want to mention his girlfriend from Russia. That's not what I wanted to see. So I just find it very telling, interesting that there's been a very large push to get Hinkle's name out there, and not us. Like we're talking any page that tries to like become a Wikipedia for celebrities has Jackson Hinkle there somewhere, but doesn't mention Russia at all. Not once. I've seen 10 of them. Not once. Not a single one. Okay. The Stu Peters Show. Never heard of the guy. Who are you? Stu Peters. Far-right and alt-right online personality, former rapper, and former bounty hunter. He's known for promoting COVID-19 misinformation and conspiracy theories. His online show is titled The Stu Peters Show. Not a stew with Peters. No pun on your first name being a dish. That's lame. That's weak. His show routinely features conspiracy theories about governmental organizations such as the CDC. His guests have included established proponents of conspiracy theories such as Paul Gosar, Mark Meadows, and L. Lynn Wood. I know that name. Yes, that's him. In 2022, Peters released the anti-vaccine film Died Suddenly, then in a 2023 video titled Final Days. Oop. So he had Dugin of Daria Dugin getting killed, being his daughter.
Extreme accountability.
Extreme
Good
accountability.
evening and welcome to an extremely special edition of the Stu Peters Show, because our next guest is, without exaggeration, one of the most important geopolitical thinkers on the entire
right. And he's also Putin's head philosopher or something.
planet. But if you're important geopolitical thinkers on the entire planet,
Dugin. The guy who's cited by nobody.
But if you're a regular American, you may have never heard of him at all. That's what it's like living under the empire of lies. Dr. Alexander Dugin is a Russian philosopher. He's a speaker. He's an academic. He began his life opposing the USSR's decrepit communist regime and has since become one of the most vocal Russian nationalists. He's sometimes actually been called Vladimir Putin's brain. He's written about 20 books on philosophy and geopolitics. For decades, Dugin has been warning about the...
Oh, that's an interesting interview he shows up here. Is it from 60 Minutes? I don't think it's from 60 Minutes. There it is. BBC. I don't know why. I honestly do not know why.
Everything is relative. And we in Russia, we could use postmodernity in order to explain to the West that if any truth is relative, so we have our special Russian truth that you need to accept.
Alternative facts. They are... The Russian media is working on a... I don't want to say post-truth basis, because they've been doing this longer than that has been a term. I'm guessing, yeah, we define things past, but they have been working with this relative fact base for decades now. You can say one thing in the Western media, you can have facts back it up, and then the Russian media comes in and goes, wrong. And that's it. That's it. In the eyes of the Russians, the Russian media is trusted, and therefore that is wrong, even no matter how correct it is. And he admits all of this in this video.
The danger of the global American empire, not the American people, not you viewing at home, but the regime in Washington that wants to invade and dominate every country on the planet and infect it with its ideology. And you know what that ideology is. It's the same one that you hate here in America: globalism, modernism, atheism, open borders.
It is the ideology that allows you to speak this way.
Transgenderism, all of the rest.
All of it.
This ideology seeks to enslave all of us in America, and it looks to impose that same slavery abroad. That's why we have military.
Right. He was a rapper. I have to listen to the Peter Stu rap. Stu Peters. Stu Peters rap. Like, there has to be something, right? Is it Fokis? Is that him? Could be. I can see the similarities. Let's go and see. Oh, Fokis. Yeah. "10 years ago, he released... wait, is this really... Oh my God. Leaked. Leaked. It's not leaked when you're the one leaking your own shit. That's not leaking. That's publishing. Leaked. Okay, let's listen to this.
Be happy. How can the pimps and the pushers and the snakes
pushers
make these?
Can I get some rap? Or
it's a business, man.
Oh, I need to monitor so I don't get a strike here.
I'm that kid, got a sickness, man. Small house, big world, small pad, big shot, time
go to work as a businessman. You damn right they gon' call me the black sheep. Big beats, big sales, big dreams come true, and I never suck dick and ass in the back.
I completely understand this not taking off. 10 out of 10 would never play. Ever. Okay, let's give one more song a chance.
Drunk talk like come and see me, man. I'll pay for your flight. You gotta hear this new shit I'm on. The video's right. Dog, I've been talking to record labels, investors, promoters. And the future looks real bright for Focus. We're planning on show.
The future looks real bright for Focus. No, it didn't. Nah. No, this is where you ended up. How fucking embarrassing.
Interventions. That's why we're bombing innocent people all over the place. That's why we're funding other countries bombing innocent people,
of course,
mainly children.
Ukraine.
Dugin was one of the first to see this reality back in the 90s. He's been warning about it ever since. He's the leading proponent of his own geopolitical ideology of Eurasianism. This is the centerpiece of this ideology. And it's basically saying that all Russian language speakers should be regathered into one country, which will then be strong enough to resist the superpower of the United States.
But remember, it was about denazification, not about reunification of the Russian Empire. Remember that.
Resisting the superpower of the United States essentially means resisting Satan at this point. In 1997, he wrote this, quote, "In principle, Eurasia and Russia remain the staging area of a new anti-bourgeois, anti-American revolution."
Whoa. What is this commie speak about anti-bourgeois? What is this commie speak?
The new Eurasian empire will be constructed on the fundamental principle of the common enemy, the rejection of Atlanticism, rejection of strategic.
How prescient of me. I didn't even think of that. Because I haven't read that much about Dugin in general. And I haven't been following Haas or Hinkle's political jargon that much, so I wouldn't know. Hinkle. What we call Atlanticism What if what's it called in Swedish? Atlanticismen, såklart. Actually. This is about the German, the German left-wing politician. At a press conference on Monday, this was a few weeks ago by now, Sarah Wagenknecht finally announced that she and her fellow Die Linke defectors will start a new party. These supporters include, among other things, Sevin Dagdelen, which has received considerable international attention for its foreign and defense policy line, but which has not among those who now present the plans for the party. The AFD is, through its independently and relatively anti-Atlanticism critical foreign policy course, a significantly better party than Meloni's FDI, Oxon's SD. This is Italy, this is Sweden, and even Le Pen, that's Russia. But the clear concern that now seems to be noticeable in its ranks, highly justifiable, its political weakness in other areas shared, blah, 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 blah. Mainly, of course, Central Economic One, which can never be completely separated from Atlanticism. That's Eurasia. This dude is really just... He want to butt fuck. Oh, no, sorry. He wants to be butt fucked by Haas, it seems. Now, that's really embarrassing for a Viking. Whatever. I just find it interesting that I happened to stumble upon Atlanticism before watching this.
Strategic control by the United States of America and the refusal to allow liberal values to dominate us. This common civilizational impulse.
Here's the thing, though. Thanks to liberalism, it doesn't have to. You're not forced to do things unless you're in a position of power where you can do things. Like if you're a private person in your private life, do whatever the fuck you want.
Will be the basis of a political and strategic union. Now, Dugin has been one of the strongest advocates for Russia's war in Ukraine, which he compares to a crusade, accurately. He says it's not about Russia versus Ukraine or even Russia against America.
No, of course not.
No, it is, in his words, about humanity versus hegemony.
Yeah. The humanity of the Ukrainians versus the hegemony of the Russians. People don't know this, and I don't blame them, because why would you? But if you live inside of Russia or in a Russia-aligned or Russia-controlled even nation, you're not taught English. You're taught Russian. There are chemists. I've mentioned this on stream before. I've met a chemist from Ukraine, from Eastern Ukraine, who didn't speak a lick of English. And you're working in chemistry? I met a programmer who, beyond the language, the programming language, didn't speak a word of English. You're in programming and you don't speak English. Imagine being a doctor not knowing Latin. I won't say speaking, because we don't really speak Latin anymore. The Latin we hear is a concoction of our own mind, of other languages, and linguists like going, maybe it's a way. It could have been, but they don't know. We don't have recordings from back then. Nobody. They spoke Swedish in Sweden 100 years ago. Yeah, it's not the same Swedish. It's not even close to the same Swedish, okay? Don't compare the two. Same goes with English. And then add to the fact that it's a dead language. Sorry. My point is, Russia, because the English is imposed on us culturally. Nobody forced English upon the Western world. Nobody sat us down and said, looked at our curriculum and said, you guys need to up your English a bit more. We don't like this whole speaking Swedish business you have going on there in Sweden. Can we do something about that, perhaps? Can we get you to not speak Swedish? And we compromised, and we came to the conclusion that, hey, we're going to treat English as, a necessary component to understanding modern life. in the West. No, what we did was we had a fuck ton of imported media, movies, music, books, radio shows. I don't know, maybe, probably. We had a fuck ton of imported stuff from the English-speaking world, both the BBC and from America. And we don't like to dub. We dub our children's programming. That shit is dubbed. They tried to dub Simpsons. They released one episode with the dubbed version, and they just scrapped it. Like, you know what? The original is fine. No, we text instead. We have texted everything instead. So eventually it became quite obvious that it would be a good idea to learn better English. That didn't happen in the Russian-controlled sphere of influence. Russia demands that you speak Russian. Not just like, hey, it's easier to do business in Russia or with Russia if you speak Russia. Of course, naturally, I can understand that. No, you can only speak Russian. You have to speak Russian. You don't learn English, and therefore you are cut off from the English-speaking world. And that is by design. But hey, America is imposing its hegemony. America. Oh, and the last thing. These Eastern Ukrainians that I talked to, they didn't know their own history. They had no idea about the famine that the Soviet Union caused, the Holodomor. I think that's how you pronounce it. They had no idea about the forced deportation of Ukrainians, of Tatars by Russia prior to the Soviet Union. Like, there's so much about their own history that they had no idea about because they didn't get taught, because Russia doesn't like it getting taught. It doesn't reflect too good on them. Hey, we're brothers. They're coming to invade you. Oh, like we did before. Sorry about that.
How much does the globalist American regime fear Dugin? Well, last year in Moscow,
Nothing.
A car bomb attack planted by secret operatives killed his daughter.
Ukrainians?
Karen. It's almost certain that the bomb was meant to kill Alexander himself
yeah.
as well. And Dugin isn't a member of the Russian military. You might think that he's some high...
That is not the concern here. A diplomat is not a part of the military either, but I can see why you want to kill some of them. Military targets are, by definition, acceptable goals for other for military targeting. You know. They are always, by definition, an acceptable loss in a war. That is what that's their job. That's why they're there. They're informed of the risk. However, that doesn't mean they're the only acceptable target of a war. A parliament can be an acceptable target. The political power, that's acceptable. They control the military, presumably. So they would be an acceptable target for it. Alexander Dugin, in his role as advisor to Putin, has made himself an acceptable target. Especially since he approves of the war. It would be one thing if he didn't approve of it, but was still in Putin's employ. I still think it would be an acceptable target to assassinate. I would just question why he would do it if that's the case. But yeah, oh no, it's not a military target. Doesn't mean it's not a legitimate military target.
Ranking military official. That's not true. He doesn't hold any position in Vladimir Putin's government.
No.
He's an academic and an ideologue. He was targeted for murder because of what he has to say. Well, needless to say, anyone who's marked for death by our regime for his words alone is someone that we are interested in speaking with. But that's not the only reason that we want to talk to him today.
It wasn't Americans.
Dugin has a lot to say about this new war unfolding in the Middle East. He's developed a detailed vision for how this conflict in Gaza could explode into a full-blown war involving not just Israel and Palestine, but also Iran and Syria and Saudi Arabia, Turkey, even nuclear-armed Pakistan. But it wouldn't stop there. No, if the war escalates, Dugin believes we'll eventually see Muslims in Europe revolt and begin a civil war. We'll see China invade Taiwan.
Thanks for saying it, I guess. Yeah, for everyone who has retweeted Hinkle, oh look, Russia stands with Palestine. No, they fucking don't. No, they don't. The only reason why they're standing with Palestine, I mean, is because they oppose Israel, and they oppose Israel because Israel is aligned with America, is aligned with the West for some fucking reason. That's the only reason why they are here. Dugin, like, yeah, we believe that Muslims in Europe is gonna attack Europeans, non-Muslim Europeans, because nothing.
We'll eventually see the use of nuclear weapons. Could be the end of the world, or just the end of a United States dominated one. Well, Dugin has generously agreed to an interview with us, and I'm honored to have him. He joins us now. Sir, thank you so much for being here. Your time is extremely valued, and we appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. So, first of all, I want to issue our greatest sympathy for the loss of your daughter. I mean, it's absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
Do you believe that attack was targeted at you as well?
It seems so. We could never know for sure. But in spite that my daughter was very patriotic and shared absolutely my own vision, but she was known in Russia. She was very brilliant, very beautiful, and she was a rising star. But I sincerely cannot imagine.
Oh, okay. They at least show her in the studio there. She is, or she was, a highly profiled propagandist. And I don't mean propagandist in we're all propagandists because we want X, Y, Z to happen and therefore blah blah blah. You know, the whole Hassan spiel. No. I mean literal propagandist for the Russian state. That is what she was. And that is why mourning her loss or claiming that her being killed instead of Alexander Dugin is somehow a wrongful assassination, I do not agree with that. Not one bit.
That she deserved to be killed by what she has done, and it seems, according to inquiry in Russia, that the enemy wanted to kill me. And now there are some reports in global press, including in the United States and Washington Post, New York Times, that CIA knew that the Ukraine terrorists wanted to kill myself for my position, and the Americans say they were against that. But who knows what is done behind the curtain of the special services.
God, he's long-winded. by all accounts that I've heard, at least, which, to be fair, is mostly second-hand or even third-hand, probably, from Dylan Burns. But it seems like the U.S. intelligence service has no idea what the Ukrainians are doing, because the Ukrainians do not trust American intelligence service. They're like, no, you leak everything. If we tell you X, you're gonna spread it to the press somehow through some back channels, and you're all fine with it. And we don't operate that way. Which, yeah, why would you? So it's not and the fact that America has been very clear, the West has been very clear on where they want their weapons to be used, where they would think, or we would think, the red line for Ukraine should be, and the Ukrainians are like, we don't care. And rightfully so. Of course they don't. They've been held at the leash by the West since 2014. They wanted to rid themselves, they couldn't. And we held them back. And they're like, fuck that shit. And I completely understand them.
Nobody knows for sure. So it is obvious that Ukrainians accomplished this horrible act.
Russians have tended to use a slang word. Bad name for Ukrainians, a derogatory name is the word I'm looking for, but he didn't use it here. That's interesting.
Against innocent young girl or against myself. You're absolutely right. Ukrainians accomplished this horrible act against innocent
his daughter,
young girl, or against myself. You're absolutely right. I have no position in Putin's Russia, no official position. I have academic.
Prigozhin didn't either have an official position. He wasn't a high-ranking officer, was he?
Position. I have published much more than 20 books. 20 books, I think they are translated into the English, but I have written more than 70 books in different languages, in Russian, first of all, but they are translated in many other languages. So maybe at the same time, I have no position in Putin's government. I agree and I support the reunification with Crimea, with eastern Ukrainian territories, but I never influenced in no way the Putin's decision to start special military operation. So
that is actually irrelevant to whether or not an assassination of him would be a justified killing by Ukraine standard, by Ukraine's military or intelligence service, or just Russian dissidents in general. He is having him assassinated would be a signal to the world about the reach and the lack of reach of the Ukrainian or other dissident like Chechnya or Belarusian or Russian dissidents. Their reach inside Russia and Russia's lack of protection from these people. It would be a PR win at the very least. And that might be good enough.
From all logical, reasonable level to kill someone, or worse than that, to kill someone's daughter in front of the eyes of the father.
Taking your own car,
it is serious crime, I think, against the thought. Because, for example, I was presented in Amsterdam speaking with Bernard-Henri Lévy, exchanging very opposite views concerning world politics, philosophy, metaphysics, global trends. So the process and the change of the world order, that is, it is how you normally should treat the people with opposite view. So that is confrontation.
We should treat people with opposite views friendly. One side wants to kill the Jews, the other doesn't. One side wants Muslims to rise up against the West, against Western degeneracy. The other side doesn't. Where's the equality coming into play here? Where's the equal parts bad coming in? Because I'm hearing a lot of bad on one side and a very little bad on the other side. Like I'm not denying that there are bad things on the Western side of intelligentsia. I'm positively sure that there are negative aspects here, but it doesn't compare to the mountain of shit that is found within your worldview, within Russia at the moment.
Of the ideas. For example, Bernard-Henri Lévy invited to kill Turks in favor of Kurds, to kill Taliban in favor of some group in Afghanistan, to kill Assad in favor of rebels in Syria. So, but no one, not in Russia, for example, or in other countries, has idea to kill him for his words, and that is something I think that.
Yes, they do. Or at least based on the influence of his word. Like, you're not a nobody here. You're not some grad student that they picked off the street and said, aha, we're going to hang his head for supporting the war, which every other Russian does, or claims to do at least, when you ask them. No, you're Alexander Dugin. You've been hailed as Putin's brain. The only way people know you in the West is your proximity to Putin. Oh, I don't have an official position. Don't really care.
Exceeds the law.
Eva Braun didn't have an official position in the government. Would it really be so bad if she was assassinated?
Of relations between societies. I never participated in the military operations, nowhere. Neither in Georgia nor in Ukraine. I can have my geopolitical, philosophical, metaphysical, historical views, and I can stand for them.
It's been minutes since this guy spoke.
I can defend them. I could receive the theoretical blows and polemics and so on. I my account in X.
Okay, let's just jump to the. It's so fucking boring.
That is how I consider the Russian-Ukrainian confrontation and war.
Something interesting, actually.
To attack us, there was installed artificially.
Oh. What is happening?
Unipolarity. That means the rule of globalist elite in the West, based on the radically left liberal ideology with cultural Marxism as kind of cultural superstructure based of transnational corporations. That was a kind of one power, and against these global civilization emerged new poles, and
this dude never shuts up.
The reason of the conflict in Ukraine. So Ukraine is not the problem between us and Ukrainians. Ukrainians were used in order to attack us. There was installed artificially Nazi regime with.
Remember that every accusation is an admission. This goes for conservatives in general, but it especially goes for fascists. Russia did this. In the interview I referenced earlier, he talks about, when you say that Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014 with little green men and we didn't admit it. Well, you did the same. You did the same. You planted neo-Nazis in Ukraine to attack Russia. No. But everything that the West accuses Russia of, Russia just flips it on its head and accuses us right back without blinking. They do not adhere to truth.
Ultra-nationalist attitude with Russia-phobia, and that was used against us in order to stop this creation and affirmation, this emergence of the Russia as new pole. But at the same time, the trade war with China began.
And what he's talking about here is the multipolar world, which basically is just, well, instead of having one superpower, we're going to have multiple superpowers. And they're going to fight over influence. We've heard, this is the Mearsheimer idea. It's stupid, first of all. Second of all, Russia is not going to be one of those poles, okay? China might. Still don't think they will, but they might. But Russia is... Nobody's going to respect Russian military at the moment. Like, it's going to take years for them to build that back, if they ever do. They're done for. They're never going to be a superpower ever again after this debacle in Ukraine.
And now, in situation in Middle East, in Gaza and Israel, there is the other front of the same confrontation between unipolarity and Islamic pole this time, because Islamic pole is uniting in favor of Palestine, and globalists of the West, they sided uniquely with Israel. So outside of all national interests, so no national interests, American interests are really involved. More than that, during this confrontation between Palestine, between Hamas and Israel, the American politics in the...
But he, earlier in the same video, he talked about Muslims rising up in a civil war in Europe. And now he's like, oh, but they're just doing it for geopolitical reasons over there. Why did we take in so many Muslims then?
The Middle East is totally...
Which this dude says we shouldn't do.
Totally destroy, totally turn apart. So nothing left of this strategy of pacification of the region. So I think that the hatred against Americans in Islamic world has reached the level of unprecedented level.
Somebody had an accident with their beard. Where's this part?
Because that is the fight between two something greater, some two different. Yes, America could be a pole, maybe first the leading pole of multipolar world, but not. But outside of globalist agenda. So that is totally different. So we have nothing to do against.
What?
And that has nothing to do with America as the state. So if, for example, we consider Trump and Trump's rule, we could imagine easily coming of the multipolarity without wars. So competition, yes. America first, yes. America could be a pole, maybe first, the leading pole of multipolar world, but not. But outside of globalist agenda. So that is totally different. So
it's okay to be globalist as long as you're not a globalist.
Have nothing to do against. We have nothing against America as such, and we have nothing against American leadership. We are against this globalist hegemony that is imposed on other civilizations, but these maniacs, by this
or a portable unit.
Oh, that's an ad.
Of the realism, of the national interest, of the sovereignty, of values. So that is precisely.
Like, has this dude spoken at all? Like, what was it? What was the name? Stu Peters. Focus. Where's Focus? Where are you? Aren't you good with words? Speak.
Democracy on the global level. It is not
Control
a totalitarian, ideological, imposing, prescriptive democracy. That is old good.
He almost fell asleep.
Prescriptive democracy. That is old good democracy.
And I don't blame him.
Afghanistan is dangerous.
Don't share with you your values, but we accept them because
democracy is dangerous. It turns out. We've been spreading democracy, as you know, Mr. Dugan, all over the place for decades. We spread democracy in Iraq.
We
spread democracy in Afghanistan. We spread it in Libya and in Syria. What did that?
You can't spread democracy. It doesn't work. Democracy has to be won, not just by the people it's going to govern. They have to win it by themselves. But it also has to be paid in blood. Nobody can hand you democracy, and it's going to work. And that's not what we're doing, and when I say we, I mean the West, in Ukraine. Ukraine paid for their democracy in blood already. They've fought for it. They deserve it. They want it. But I'm guessing these guys are going to just like, oh, well, we are trying to impose democracy on Ukraine as well. Fuck you.
Equate to. We killed millions of people.
Oh, and that's actually the end of. And then it continues. Let's skip to the end here somewhere.
This is where I become a little perplexed, and this is why.
He's perplexed.
With the genders, male, female, that was normal for all culture. Liberal.
Yeah. So speak to that. I mean, you're a highly regarded, very well celebrated author and tremendous thinker.
Yeah. Sure.
This is where I become a little perplexed, and this is why, Mr. Dugan, sometimes it's frustrating to be in a position as a host, or to try to show people, things that they're missing. And I guess my biggest conundrum here is this: we have a population in our country, in the United States, where, and probably across the face of the planet, where there are conservative-minded Christians
why is there
who are flying Ukrainian flags in their front yards. They are gladly sending donations to NGOs and nonprofits to send aid to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
They know nothing about this country other than what Fox News has told them, or CNN or MSNBC or the New York Times or the Washington Post. They know nothing about Ukraine. They know nothing about Vladimir Zelensky. How many wives does he have in his name this week? I mean, even his name is fake.
What?
This guy's been installed. There is
even his name is fake because he changed the Western spelling of it.
Neo-Nazi war criminals gunning down innocent people, killing dogs, and anything with a pulse that tries to flee.
What are you confused
But
about?
there's a total disregard for any of this, and Americans
Focus.
largely blindly
What are you
will just follow these military interventions. We are convinced as a people, not me, generally speaking, we must defend Ukraine against the boogeyman, Vladimir Putin, and against evil Russia. We must defend Israel, our greatest ally, against, Hamas or the Palestinians. And
I don't think many Americans go around their daily life going, "Oh, we must defend it. It's in the core of my ideology that we defend Ukraine." I don't even go around thinking that. And I am as Ukraine supporting as you can get, almost, without being an ideologue, I guess.
Then advocate for and support the carpet bombing of innocent children inside of Gaza and now the Strip. We just bombed Syria the other day.
You like bombing.
We're getting ready
Where are
to
you
posture
getting at?
towards China to defend you or the prosperity of the American people. People around their dinner tables here, Mr. Dugan, don't give a damn, quite frankly, about what happens in Taiwan or in Ukraine or in
nor should they.
Israel. Gaza. Easily influenced. How does that take place? What kind of psychological operations, in your opinion, are running on a global scale in lockstep with world leaders? And that includes, by the way, throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, the genetic sequence biowarfare gain-of-function virus that
Every
was
conspiracy theory
intentionally deployed on a global population. By the way, as noted by a top biowarfare general, Kirillov, for Vladimir Putin's
the
government.
Russian
He actually
biowar
cited my
expert.
program and showed the data about the weapons of biowarfare, the pegylated lipid nanoparticles and
Get
caps.
to
It's
the
my
point.
opinion that if these billions of people knew what they did to themselves, there'd be no safe place for the people who perpetuated this evil to hide. What kind of global lockstep governance has taken place here, and who is at the top of it? Who's responsible for dictating
Jews
to so-called leaders of sovereign countries across the planet that this is the narrative they're going to follow, this is what the media is going to say, and whoever is a dissenting voice against it will be jailed or killed?
Oh my God, he finally got to the point. Holy shit. I thought I could ramble. I can ramble, but this dude, I can see where the rap talent went. That's nonsense. That's nonsensical, what he just said, though. There doesn't have to be a global conspiracy for the truth. That's the golden key he's missing to unlock his potential, his brain, his IQ, his worldview. It's just independent people coming to the same conclusion, my dude. There's no grand conspiracy. The Jews aren't controlling your life. You're ruining it all on your own, dude. It's all you.
Who's responsible for this?
Nobody.
That in order to answer this very, very large question, we need to make a kind of inquiry in the genealogy of the modern society, modern world.
The genealogy of the modern society, of the modern world.
We should understand that modernity, the modern age, began with anti-Christian revolution in the science.
Good.
It was materialism in science, and natural science, and the human science, political science. That was a kind of great rebellion in the Western Europe against tradition, against the church, against Middle Ages, against established dogma and rules. And there was the origin of the modern nihilism that pretended to create, to build, to establish the new kind of culture, of society, of political
So he's
system,
not answering
of
the
science,
question, mind you.
on the negation, total denial to Constantism itself, and materialism, atheism, the church, state, nation, and now with gender and of the modernity from the 16th century on the sacralization of the state, of a communist. And after were two branches of this progressism. First of all, liberal one, and the second, a communist. And after the end of the communist time, the only progressism we have is liberal progressism.
Did he kick the and
in the beginning of this?
He's just babbling. There's nothing. There's just jibber jabber. Nothing of substance is coming from his mouth. Not that I expected much substance, but I expected at least some coherent thought. I can't really claim that I got that even. Like, it was all just jibber jabber. My hair is not on point today. Should I end with something maybe? Should I do that? Why don't you do that? You know what? I'm gonna end it here, actually, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna end it here. That's gonna be it for today. Thank you, everyone who's been here. But I am gonna leave because I am a hungry boy. And that's gonna do it for me. I might be streaming tomorrow. Maybe. We're gonna see if we can find some funny stuff to talk about. Until then, until next stream, take care.